much time or going where they're going all the time, because then sometimes, temptation is real, this, that, and the third. So, I feel like a lot of times, like, just, a good solution is just kind of removing yourself away from the situation and then just going back to where you can just find that conformity, or, being around someone that can just kind of help you bring you back to that place when you feel like the culture is starting to pressure you, because we around it all day, every day, especially for college students, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure with it.
All right.
All right, the next question. What advice or encouragement do you have for the young men in here that are thinking about pursuing abstinence?
Take my motivation. I learned this. And I'm a facts book, but this is what I was told, that for every person that you have sex or quote unquote make love with, that every other person that they've also had sex with, you get all of their spiritual being problems from all the other people they also had sex with. All of that enters into your life and sometimes, somehow, some way spiritually mess you up. And when I heard that, that scared me. And, people can say a lot of things. Women, men, like on whatever the number, body count, this, that, and the third. You don't know what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that actually scared me and motivated me to pursue and continue pursuing abstinence. And also, again, like I'm about the facts, I found out, the good book, the Bible, that you just have more blessings and God blesses you more when you wait till marriage. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, for me, honestly, just a matter of just like, I ain't trying to mess it up, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what could spiritually happen bad into my life if I went into that life. Of course, God is a forgiving God, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you, a person that's strong in your faith with that, but it was just like, I didn't want to just mess that up for me. I didn't want to, even think of that possible damage or what could happen, this, that, that. So, my encouragement is just kind of look at it like that. Think about it like, imagine all the spiritual demons that's all going on in their life, and then that's sexually transmitted over to you. So, I'm going to call it, just an STD, but spiritual transmitted disease. That's what I looked at it like. So, that's my thought on it.
Okay, so before we go on, Gareth just arrived, so we want you to introduce yourself, Gareth.
Hi, I'm Gareth. No, I'm kidding. Sorry about the delay, everybody. It's not going to make an excuse, but I'm here, so thank God for the divine delay. Excited to be here, share my story a little bit tonight. Hopefully what I share can help someone in here tonight in the journey that you're on. I believe God, we all go through our own individual journeys to help somebody else in some way or form or fashion. So I really hope that, again, something I share tonight can help. Please, if you have a question that you're hesitating to ask because you're scared what somebody else is going to think, don't. Just ask the question. That transparency is what will produce results in somebody's life.
Amen.
What is someone like what you do? Where you from?
What I do? Well, so what I do, I have a background in finance. I work in operations now. I used to sleep like this guy in meetings like this. So I do that now. I work for a company called Town Park. Run operations, have 72 different locations all across the Mid-Atlantic. Business is really what God has equipped me for. That's one of the areas. Another area is in the area of abstinence and really helping folks along their journey. Because I have a story that is not the typical story. It's probably the typical story for a lot of males. It's not the typical story for young ladies, I should say. My wife's story is a lot different than mine. It's actually the complete opposite. She waited the entire time till she was married. I went on a little bit of a wrong path for a little bit of time that created a testimony for her today. I'm a graduate of Morgan State University.
Yes, sir.
Undergrad, yes, sir. And then Hopkins for MBA. And I'm from Texas, so I'm a country boy in the D.C., Maryland area. So I get a lot of things. I grew up on a farm. I didn't have my father. Well, that's important. I'll tell you why. I didn't have my father growing up. I met my father when I was 16. So I grew up on a farm, meaning my grandfather always had me out working with him on the farm. So I learned a lot of my principles from somebody that was old school. Old school in the fact that he didn't understand and was never provided the information about the value of purity and the value of singular lady, one young lady. So the value that was always instilled in me was multiple. The more you get, the more valuable you are, and the more notches you get in your belt. That was instilled in me. Part of the reason why I went on the path I did. But thank God for one day I had moved back to this area, Baltimore area, after being away for about, I think, 2.5 years. And my godson's grandmother, really, man, she is awesome. She gave me a book, and she gave me this CD. The book she gave me was called The Best Sex of My Life, A Guide to Purity. Didn't know what that meant. Didn't know what I was going to be reading. So I read the book. The book actually impacted my life, but not only did the book impact my life, but it was funny, it was a book that was by a woman who just so happens to be my wife now. Which is crazy, right?
He snatched the author.
Yeah. So not only the book, but also the Prayer and Faith Confessions. There was a CD that was literally by a guy named Sean Cook, and it was Prayer and Faith Confessions, and it was just about affirmations about every area of my life. And I did those every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And this was after I read the book. And a combination of those things, the principles from the book that I learned, the prayer and the faith confessions, really made a huge impact in my life. I've always been a part of church. So I grew up in church, even when I was going to clubs and coming in. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I would still get up in the morning to go play the drums the next morning at church. So I've always been, that's always been in me. But the problem was I was going to church to be going to church. I wasn't going to church to get something out of it. So I really didn't leave with anything outside of the fact that I'm making people feel good because I'm playing the drums and they dancing, they shouting, and I'm like, yeah, that's it right here. But that wasn't what it was supposed to be about. It was about much more, and I learned that later. Which helped me to be where I am right now. So that's enough. You'll get more here as we go throughout tonight.
Cool.
All right. Okay, so the current question that Clacy just answered was, what advice or encouragement do you have for young men if they're thinking about pursuing abstinence? That was the current question.
Yeah. Honestly, like for right, like just as far as encouragement, and I'm gonna be honest, like in Baltimore and DC, Baltimore and DC is ranked like some of the like 2 of the top 10 cities for STDs, and that was by the CDC. So it's real out here. Like, and sometimes I think for some reason when it comes to STDs, it's downplayed for some reason. Like it's not a big deal, but like with the top, for chlamydia, syphilis, and gonorrhea with like the top 10 cities, not states, but it's a lot of cities in the country, so that's crazy. So I would really say think about that when you really are thinking about, having sex with somebody. And also, if you're deciding to have sex with somebody, you're saying at that moment you are honestly emotional and financially capable of taking care of whatever child is produced out of that. So those are some things to consider. But honestly, right now, like honestly, your booty isn't going anywhere. Like you have enough time, like your education, like establishing yourself. Like when brother right here was saying, like working on being more mature mentally, So there's so many things you can do right now in this time that will prepare you later on when you are ready to have a family, when you are ready to commit a marriage to where then God will bless you with your weight, So there are a ton of things you could be doing right now that won't be hindered by sex right now. Because sex complicates things. It clouds your judgment. You will... Man, it'll mess your money up. Like it's just honestly like a lot of things. And so people focus on the physical, but a lot of time outside of marriage, we don't really look at some of the spiritual and natural repercussions that could come out of it. So right now, I encourage you. You have time. Like women outnumber us anyway. They're not going nowhere. So you have time.
I'd say one of the things I've learned about sin, if you think about being abstinent and you think the desire of lust will go away, is that sin is always attractive. That's the problem with sin. Sometimes we want sin to be ugly, but if it was ugly, we wouldn't have a struggle with sin, right? So sin is it's attractive. The problem with sin is not that it's attractive. The problem is that it leads to death. And so I would just say to you that as you think about practicing abstinence, that you just consider not just the temptation, that will be there, but the decision of I want life or death. And if you ever wonder what that looks like, go home and watch the episode of Maury Povich or Paternity Court, because what we do is we promote this, and then we laugh at people when they're like, I don't know who my baby mama is or baby dad, right? And we laugh at that stuff, but that leads to the life that everybody's promoting, right? And so one is just think about where it leads to that brokenness and how you can lead to life. The other piece of advice I give, I was similar as I met my wife and she had waited, and that was the hardest conversation I ever had in my life. Was telling her 2 weeks into it, because like that's not, if this is gonna be serious, we might as well get this over early. And it was the most difficult conversation I ever had in my life. And so why not say again, thinking about life, what decisions, what choices for me lead to life. And the last thing I'll add is that if you're going to be abstinent, think of it this way: it takes courage and strength to do it. I actually think it's the most courageous journey. I think of strength this way: like. I could look at these guys and say, they've gone, you're 34. If I was to add up how many days he's gone without having sex, I can't add up that many in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, strength is how long can you go with something that somebody else can't carry. And so a lot of times we think if you're being abstinent, it's a sign of weakness, which is the reality is you can't get what these guys have if we've already had sex. But at any given moment, they could say, oh, I want what you have, and they can go like that. But they have something that most people don't have the strength to walk in. So I would encourage you with this: if you're going to be abstinent, just know that it is the most courageous path. The world will tell you that the most courageous, manly path is to be with a lot of different people. I actually think the path that is more courageous is the one that most people can't do. I'll put it this way: I could sit here and I could probably do 100 push-ups straight. Some people come in and do 30 push-ups straight. And most people say the person who could do 100 is the strongest. So the person who could be abstinent all their life has shown more control, self-discipline, and strength than those who aren't able to do it. So if you choose to be absent today, you're going to be taking a strong and courageous journey, the one that's more strong than people who are around you.
If I can just add, like, real quick, something that's kind of helped me too was I put the 10 Commandments actually up in my room. I'm a very, like, personal development type person, so I put up a lot of things that I want to achieve in life. But one of the biggest things is the 10 Commandments. So when I wake up, I see that. So I know I ain't committing adultery and sex before marriage. Like, it's like, damn, with God in my face. And then another thing, all my alarms that I wake up to, and I'm not really a big alarm person, but I only do it just to put the Philippians verse up, 3:13. And I'm going to literally read it to y'all. It says, and this is quick, and we're going to move on. It says, no, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. Press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us. And that keeps me straight every day. All right. That's it.
Wow, it's a good question. There's so many things I want to tell you. It's almost like there's a song where this guy, I don't know, I forgot who it was. It was almost like he was giving himself advice at a younger age. Like he went back in time. He's like, what would you tell yourself if you were like 10 years before? There's so many things I would say. I'll sum it up like this and say that I look at, and you should look at your life this way too. I look at life this way. In the Word it talks about that we're a royal priesthood, that we were bought with a price. That price, it didn't say how much. It said we were bought with a price, because you can't put a value on it. Since we were bought with a price, anybody in here have stock? Anybody in here ever bought like anything where you save your money up and it like took you a while to save your money, buy something?
Yeah.
Give me an example.
I went to Spain this past summer. It took me a while to save up to go.
Right. Okay. So you took you a while to save to go. That's almost like an investment. So that's the reason why I'm going to point this out. It's like an investment. We are God's investments. Think about it like this. Anybody ever heard people talking about how we're seeds in the earth, we're planted for a specific purpose in the earth? Well, in our lifetime, we're an investment. He wants a return on us. In that point, he gives us all the information we need in the Word. And I'm picking up my phone because my Word is in my phone. In the Word, He gives us all the advice and all the things we need to do to maximize on being an investment in this earth and producing more than what we would produce if we tried to do everything on our own in our own mind. So my advice would be, in thinking about abstinence and thinking about waiting and thinking about yourself and the value that you'll bring later on in life and the value that you'll not only bring to yourself, the value you'll bring to your future kids. Think about what the value would be if your father would have told you or your mother would have told you, I waited until I was married, till I kissed your dad. I waited until I was married to kiss your mom. I waited till I was married to have sex, and this is the only woman I've ever touched in my life. Think about the value that you place on that you would place on that if you were a young kid. And that's all the environment you were brought up in. So I tell you, right now and what you're doing, think about that and make sure that every decision you make is aligned with maximizing the value of your life for God's glory in the earth realm right now.
Is there another question after that, or is that the last one for this one? Okay. So now we're going to take all the questions that you guys wrote down.
And then y'all just want to ask.
Everybody still check in, man. Y'all know, nothing changed. Everybody check in, introduce yourself, shout out where y'all from. Nothing changed. I know how we do, so everybody check in.
Okay. Are you guys ready? Okay, so this question is, how do you wait when sex has become a part of your relationship?
How do you wait when sex has become a part of your relationship?
Yeah.
There's a scripture that talks about any man
There's some
being...
practical ways, because not everyone, because a lot of us is a Christian-based organization, but we know everyone is not Christian or whatever, so we have spiritual, application, but we also have practical, so both that too.
Absolutely. I'm going to hit both of
But you
them,
don't have to
trust
be
me.
Christian to come and just an open conversation. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you the base first, and more my belief, which is Christian based, which is, any man being Christ is a new creature. Behold, all things have passed away, all things have become new. That's what impacted my life, and knowing that and getting that in my mind and knowing that, and changing how I was thinking. That was the beginning of it, because you can make a decision right now and say, I'm going to wait till I'm married. I'm not going to have sex anymore right now. And if you don't have the true basis, something that's really deep, that you really believe that's going to help you hold on to that, you won't.
Right.
Not going to lie to you, you won't. So it's got to be things like that. But in doing that, the practical aspect of it, to make sure I hit on that, would be the boundaries you put in place. So, for example, if you want to make sure you wait until you're married, so you say, I'm not going to have sex anymore. You know what? Where have we had sex already through our relationship? If we've had sex because I asked you to come to my house and watch a movie late night when nobody's here, guess what? You can't come to my house and watch a movie late night when nobody's here. Matter of fact, you can't come to my house and watch a movie when it's just us, because I know I'm already there, so I'm already on that turn down. So I'm, here we go. So you got to put boundaries in place. Have friends around. Do things in groups. You got to do things to practically make sure that you're protecting yourself from things that the enemy can throw at you, because all day long, when your mind is idle and when you're together, man, the flesh is going to win every time. Yeah. Every time. That's why you got to put natural boundaries in place to prevent those things from taking place.
Yeah. No, I'll touch on both aspects as well. On the spiritual side, I'll say, honestly, another verse I read upon was that having sex or even oral, any of that, is a sin against the body, and that, yes, no sin is greater than any other sin, but also when I read up on it, it said that a sin against the body is actually the worst sin you can commit. And I was like, wow. And that's what hit it for me on that boundary. And then on the practical tip, of course, it was just, like I said earlier, like he's saying, it was just to not put myself in that situation. And I already knew where I was in my environment that, look, shorty want to chill? All right, look, we can meet up at church. Come to church with me. I go to church with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can still finesse it. Like, it still be good. public settings, movies. And then, you know, honestly, I also looked at it too on a practical tip, especially for my fellas. Man, a woman expensive. Dinner, movie, all like. So it's just like, if I know she's just trying to, like, you know, do that, but she won't get the freedom, then forget it. We ain't gonna do all that because you just want the action. So I looked at it like that, man. My finances, and then of course that spiritual tip.
But like, if you're in a committed relationship, from what I heard, you're in a committed relationship and y'all been going together for some time,
True.
And you care, and y'all been having a sexual relationship, like practically, how do you handle it?
Okay.
That's what I thought I kind of heard.
From a practical aspect, you have to ask yourself, what is your relationship? What's the foundation of your relationship? Love or lust? If the foundation of your relationship is, you could say you genuinely love each other, then a conversation has to be had. Also, you have to put in your mind that if this person is not willing to wait along with you, you have to put in your mindset that that relationship might end. And you have to be okay with that, you know? Communication is going to be important. 'Cause once you make this decision, either the person is going to be okay with it, they're going to rock out with you, or they're going to be like, I can't be in a relationship without sex. And once again, you have to be okay with that. Once a decision has been made, if the person, the man or young lady is like, all right, I'm down, I love you, I'm willing to respect your wishes, because it's about respect. If they're not willing to respect that, then deuces, you know. Once again, after that decision has been made, boundaries are going to have to be put in place. Like, I never had sex, but I've had sexual relationships with females, and that's because I didn't put the right boundaries in place. Like, went over somebody's house, I went over to my house, watch a movie. We didn't get past the credits, like the opening credits, like for real. And that was because I always avoided the situation. That time I didn't avoid the situation. Another time I got snowed in. You know how it is when you get snowed in. Man, I'm just staying in the house. Bump that. So it's about being smart after you made that decision. You have to be smart. You have to put those boundaries up because, man, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Yes.
Like, do not trust your flesh. So put those boundaries up. Accountability partners are going to be very, very vital. So if you two are truly saying, all right, I'm going to walk this out, get some seasoned people. Don't go to your homeboy or your homegirl. Go to some seasoned people that you can trust, that will have your best interests at heart, that can give you some serious wisdom, and that can help you and guide you both. Because if you've already been sexually active, you know, going through that detox cold turkey program, you know how people like when they go to rehab trying to get off crack and stuff. Right. So you be going through that cold turkey phase. So if you really want to walk that out, get some people that's in your corner that will support you, that won't try to, make fun of you for making that decision. Because once again, when you do something that's different from the world, be ready for attacks. So,
yeah, I would double on the accountability. Make sure you get that in place. You got to get on the same page with that person. If that person doesn't want to do that, then you got to have a conversation about your relationship. I would say this: if you wonder, like love and lust, what I've learned is lust always asks the question, "What can I get?" When I lust after a car, when I lust after a woman, it's not about her. It's about what can she give me, right? What can I get from her? Love always asks, what can I give? For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, right? So love always is asking, what can I give to the other? So when you go to this relationship, if the conversation is still like, what can I get from you, baby? Then you got to start asking yourself, is this about based on love or lust? The other thing I say is that intimacy is layered. And once you get to the physical part, it's hard to grow, mature, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. The beautiful part of waiting is that you get to connect with this other person in these deeper layers, these deeper ways. If you go right to the physical, it gets very difficult. What I'll tell you, though, is if you get into the part where you're mentally connected with someone, spiritually connecting with someone, emotionally connecting with someone, intimacy in that way, then the physical ends up being better when you wait, right? And so a lot of times when we get to the physical, you ain't got to work on the other ones. Baby, I'm mad at you. Don't be mad. Let's go do this, right? That's reality. But there's something that happens when you have, and I say why this is important. Hopefully you'll wait, you'll get married. And I don't know if anybody else, you have kids? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? You have kids, you can have sex for some time, right? So if everything's physical, what do you do then? Right?
I'm like 6.5 months pregnant right now.
There's going to be seasons in life where in marriage where you got to be like, oh, we can't do that, you know? And if you don't have intimacy in any other way, it's going to get very difficult. So I would say just make sure you emphasize, all right, I want more than just physical intimacy. I am worth you knowing me mentally, emotionally. Listen, a lot of us are messed up emotionally. We don't even know it, right? But someone knowing me emotionally, and also for us to grow in our faith together and grow spiritually, it'll give you a deeper intimacy that you really, honestly, right now probably don't know the depth and the richness of that yet.
You know, I just because you brought that in there, you brought that intimacy piece in there. I'll add, just to tell a quick story, and only because sometimes people learn better through people's life stories. You know, when I was dating all kinds of women when I was in high school and college, and when I got to college, I've dated like Miss Maryland's cheerleaders for Redskins. I've dated like women like that. And my family would be like, well, what happened with you and that girl? Because all they're looking at is like the fact that the lady was, you know, they were the positions they were in, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, you know what? I couldn't explain it. But I later found out when I read the book, it was about that intimacy piece, and not the physical intimacy. It was because I was skipping all these other pieces. I can challenge you and say that if you can't sit down and have a conversation with somebody and go really deep intellectually about something, and you guys be stimulated by each other's feedback and whatnot, then man, you're missing the boat. You probably have passed what you need to be if you can't do that, and you're already at the physical stage, and you're really missing it. That was my issue. I never went deeper than the physical piece. I mean, the physical piece was it. I mean, I knew how to. That was the thing, and I'm not trying to glorify it. I'm saying I was using it the wrong way. You know, there's a way to get deeper without going into that piece, because I'm telling you, the way you define sex right now, I guarantee you, if you're going through that physical phase before you get to the intimacy phase, you're defining sex incorrectly. Because like you talked about, the give and get struggle, that's real. When you define sex and about what you can get, man, you are missing the boat, because it's all about what you can give 100% in that piece. So,
and I'd add one more part. Like, he's making a really good point. In case he was saying, well, how does this deeper intimacy? You ever see somebody with a very attractive person, and then you ever meet somebody very attractive, and then you want nothing to do with them? And everybody's like, what happened? They don't even look attracted to you anymore, right? Because you got to know them. You're like, man, they messed up. Like, that person crazy. No matter how physically attractive they were, now you don't get away. But then you meet people who are with somebody like, wow, how did that person get with that person? You know what I'm saying? There's a deeper intimacy that does add something to our physical intimacy that's there. Yeah.
Spot on. Spot on.
Yes.
Okay, so I was dating this guy for maybe like a year and a half, and I was out of school for like a year or two. So, anyways, I live in PG. He lives in Baltimore. So, you know, we spend people allowed us, you know, stay at each other's house, whatever with that. So, anyways, during that time period, I was going to church a lot with my mom, like going to church, going to Bible study and stuff like that, and really working on our relationship with God. And so it got to the point where I was like, I'm tired of half-stepping. Like, I feel like I'm doing everything else right, but then, like, you know, when we link up, this, that, the third, you know, we have sex. So I'm like, I'm really tired of, you know, half-stepping. I want to, you know, really commit more to our relationship with God. And so I started reading this book called The Wait. I don't know if y'all heard of it.
Yeah,
I started reading that book or whatever, and I was like, dang, like, I really, you know, should, you know, try to be abstinent. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have this conversation with him. And so I told him, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, being absent, you know, stuff like that. And he was like, okay, I love you, woo-woo, saying all the right things, you know, so I respect your decision. I'll wait. And I'll tell y'all, it was maybe like 3 days to a week, and he just was like, I can't do it. Like, I know, I can't do it. You know, like, I know what I want out of a relationship. Like, I know, like, you know, sex is important to me. Like, I can't do it or whatever. And, like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, at one point I kind of questioned myself, like, damn, like, do I really want to do it? Like, is it worth it? And, you know, I decided that it was, like, because it was more about the physical, it was about our relationship with God. So I decided to do it, and I just was like, all right, like, peace, like, it hurt, but I was like, all right, like, if you can't respect that, I shouldn't, you know, feel bad about it, because that just means, like, you're not strong, like you said, strength. You're not strong enough to do it. You're not strong enough to, you know, wait for me. So I just was like, all right. Like,
Wow.
Man, you kick somebody out. You kick somebody out of your Bentley that had mud on their shoes.
That's not the guy that's got to be done.
And you know what's crazy? I'm literally just coming out of that as well. But imagine you're a significant other in a whole nother state, like state. Just imagine 3 states farther out. And I was actually born again last year, right? And I was doing good. then I backslid a little. And I don't know, I too was also felt like I was half-stepping until I started communicating. So then my ex, she ain't want to, really, conform or whatever. And, we were kind of different faiths, but still in Christianity. So, I tried, I was just persistent. I kept, praying about it, but I was still at times kind of half-stepping. And just like you, it got to the point where I was like, all right, look, it's either going to be this or that type thing, right? But for some reason, I don't know how sometimes, because I don't know for you, you had difficulties, even when you try to, put the balance down there for some way, you still find yourself with the person, right? So, I'm proud of you because it seemed like you did it even better than me. And, I know, literally, and the reason why I'm just bringing this up is because I don't know what everybody else is going through. I don't know if you're in a relationship or not. But, kind of like what you were also saying, it's just having that courage and that confidence. And it's crazy because actually she changed, And even though we're not together, it's I'm happy for her. And it's just sometimes, honestly, God is just allowing people to be together just so you can see you ain't supposed to be together. Because we wasn't happy. You know what I'm saying? And it's literally it was after we were over, she was she's just a lot more happier. I'm a very positive person, so I was still going about being positive, but she was just hurting. And it was just the more I'm with her, and she we dragging and fighting her, nah, let's do this, no, we're not going to do this, it was just it was just bringing it down. And then she, we realized look, we really got to separate. So I dived more in my book, she dived more in her book. And literally, I just felt now God just used me to bring her to God, and I just made an example out of it. So, literally, it's just crazy how just sometimes that could happen. You never know. Maybe for some of you guys, you guys might be able to change together and grow together and end up being together. But sometimes, don't have no fear. Just be confident. Just know if that person's for you, they're gonna be for you, and they will work with you and grow with you. And then if not, well, y'all will just grow separately. That's it. So, hopefully that brother is doing all right now, or I don't know, but I'm happy for you because you're doing good.
Yeah, that's actually dope. That's dope.
And I can feel it. You still feel it at times. I could feel it when you was talking about it, and I was feeling it too. Damn, we was there.
That's dope.
Yeah.
All right, so just to kind of get through all the questions, we're going to ask, and then just if one person wants to volunteer to answer, that would be cool?
Cool.
Okay, so this next one, I kind of feel like maybe you guys already touched on it, but I'm going to ask anyway. It says, how would you get your significant other to understand that waiting is your choice? If they don't comply fully and respectfully, does that make it a full deal breaker?
That was kind of similar to what we just talked about a little bit.
So too.
Yeah.
If you add another aspect of it, what if the person, your significant other, it's new to them? They don't understand where you're coming from, but they respect you. They're willing to try, but like your example, a week later he said, I can't do it. Will you work with me doing it? How do you go about that? Granted, he still has this mindset. He wants to have sex. He wants to do this, but because he loves the girl he's with, he wants to do better. He just doesn't have that mindset. How can you encourage your significant other to follow that path that you are?
I'd say the definition of why you do it can't be because I love this person. The definition of why you do it has got to be because it's got to be something deeper. Because I love God.
There you go.
Really is the real reason. I couldn't do it just because my wife, wrote a book. I did it long before I even knew who she was. That couldn't be the reason.
There you go.
If I did that, there was no basis to it, no grounds to it at all. All day long, a human is going to let you down. So if you do it because you love her, what if she lets you down one time?
Yeah. I just feel like, as far as this generation goes, if what you're saying is true, then our generation has defined love incorrectly.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, in that predicament, in that situation, how do you go about it?
I'd say the courageous part that you have to consider is, for me, I have an amazing wife and amazing family. And I almost didn't break up with somebody I was with for 3 years who we've been sexually active because I thought I'm never going to find anybody else like this, right? Even though we weren't emotionally and spiritually connecting. And I'll be honest with you, she lived in the suburbs, I lived in the hood. She had a car, I caught the bus. So it was everything about it was good. And then I broke up with her and I was catching the bus in the hood again, right? But I met this amazing woman that if I held on to this, I would have never gotten this. So I think part of it, too, as you get this deeper standard, as you get this deeper part in you of compromising, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to compromise? Or do you believe that there is someone out there who will share the same values that you have? And I think that if you can ask yourself that, one, am I willing to compromise? Two, if I'm compromising here, will I miss out on the person who will share the same values that I have. And hopefully that will give you the courage to say, because sometimes you don't want to leave because you're thinking about stuff they will love you. And I guess I want to say that that's not true.
Amen.
Can I add one more thing? I equate the staying just because I love this person. It's almost like the person that's in a relationship with somebody that's beating them. You know, I'm staying because I love them, but you getting your tail whooped. No, you can't. Like that's why it's got to be much deeper than just like the because I love this person. You know, I'm telling you, because you love that person, they're gonna beat you, and you're not gonna. Eventually, when somebody beats you, just like we talked about sin leading to death, that's gonna get progressively worse, and it'll impact your life. So it's got to be a deeper scenario, like you said just now. So.
All right. So the next question was, do you really want a surprise as to how sex will be with your future partner? I don't know.
You know what? I'll answer. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people, they would like to know how it's like before they're married. Because what you're asking is, would you are you willing to wait till marriage?
Yeah,
right.
Right.
And find out what the experience is. Yeah, I've been waiting all my life, and I'm willing to. I honestly believe, like, hey, if it's not as cracked up as I wanted to be the first time, hey, look, that's why we married anyway. We're gonna make love, get it right. I just wrap around a different perspective on it. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I feel like if we was talking about all the aspects, if we've been building ourselves out emotionally, spiritually, mentally, right? By the time we marry, it's gonna be a beautiful bliss. Like, I'm gonna be real, when I get married, look, after we sign the papers, the pastor said this, that, look, like it's on, but it's not. Of course, I'm not chasing marriage to have sex and this, that, that. But it's just, I just believe in just the beauty of the bliss of it. That once God blesses it, I know it's going to be enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? So as long as I do it the right way, I'm not even. That's the last thing that's on my mind. I'm not even worried about that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
How you how you were in your relationship stage, how you are in your engagement stage, is going to be completely different how you are in marriage. We're always evolving, we're always growing. So how you communicate it in your relationship stage, engagement stage, is going to be different how you communicate in marriage. So when it comes to sex, that's a learning process. Like, what works for person A, B, C is not going to work for X, Y, Z. Sex is a learning process along the way. So once you're married, you can't think about, it's going to be like, out of this world our first time. Just like you communicate about everything else, your finances, communicate about sex. Talk about your likes and your dislikes. It's going to be a learning process because what she might like year one, she might want to try something later on in year 5, Yeah. Because we always growing and learning. That whole, you're not going to buy a car until you test drive it. Well, I'm not trying to, be in a Uber situation, having multiple rides all over the place. Right. So when me saving myself, that's not my concern with my wife, because I believe when you do have that spiritual intimacy, that emotional, that intellect, honestly, sex is just the icing on the cake when it comes to marriage, man. Marriage has so many dynamics. Right. Sex is honestly, it's an important factor, but it's like a small percentage, man. Like, there's so many other things that come along with marriage. So if you can have it's hard for people just to communicate nowadays because of technology, text, and social media. If you can have an actual conversation with somebody and neither person can pick up their phone, that alone can go a long way, So if you can grab somebody's mindset and grow that way, in marriage, sex is going to be the icing on the cake. But it's about communicating. It's about growing along the way,
For the sake of time, I'll say something real quick. One, I'd say, I'd throw the question back of, do you want to find out how good of a parent somebody's going to be right now? I know a lot of people in that situation, right? As a pastor, I officiate a lot of weddings and I do a lot of premarital. And marriages do have different starts in so many different ways. But I'd say at the end of the day, marriage is so much more than that. I met a guy many years ago named O.J. Brigance. He played for the Ravens, big muscle guy. Now he has an illness that he's in a wheelchair and he can't move. And his wife is still there. What is love that says I'm still here?
Wow.
Right? And so if the well-being of your marriage would be, if the sex is good luck to you. In many ways, you have no idea what you're getting into. Whether the person you marry will get sick, or whether they'll deal with depression, or you have no idea. But they will understand love when you say I'm still here. Or if that person's you, that person might be you. You might be the bad sexual partner, right? But that person still says there and say, I still love you. I'll tell you, I have no other sense of understanding that there must be a God that be loved even though you fall short. So I just say marriage is much more than sex. But at the end of the day, you're having sex now with somebody who could be a baby mama, and you don't want to find out what kind of parent they're going to be.
Man, and marriage, man, practice makes perfect, man. You married too, so man, go ham. Shoot, work on it.
She got a question.
Okay, I know that we're mostly talking about sex, like not marriage or anything, or not specifically, but I know that you said that you had like a child. Did you say before marriage?
No, thank God I didn't.
Oh,
No.
Okay, so let's say hypothetical. Like, let's say that you had a daughter or a son, like while you were in sin and like feeling good and everything like that, and then you had sex with someone and you got them pregnant. You don't want to be with them anymore. So then as a man, you're trying to find someone. Now your mindset has changed. Now you have a daughter. You understand what it's like. For women probably when they go through trying to find someone that's suitable for them. Like, what advice would you have to men and women? I guess specifically to women, like, as to keep your mind open to someone and don't just think, oh, you have a kid, like, I'm over you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's kind of hard. Like, if you want to practice these principles and they already have a daughter, it's just like, for what? Like, it's for you, but then again, it's just like, do I want to even try it with you? Like, you already have all this stuff going on. You have the spiritual.
You mean just dating somebody? You mean just dating somebody with children?
Yeah, dating somebody with kids, basically, right? That's what you're asking? Yeah. Well, I think if this panel is successful in communicating a message, we can avoid more of those conversations happening. But again, seeing a lot of it happen, I think that's when you receive love that you didn't earn, is when I think we really understand what love really is. When I have a child, and I know a number of people who are here, and even believers who then practice abstinence who did have kids, and then they meet someone who's like, I'm going to love you and love your child. Like, those are the deep intimacy levels that I'm saying, like, you have no idea what it, like, when my wife told me she would still marry me, even though I told her my past and she had saved herself, that was what I began to say, God's love must be like this, because I did nothing to deserve it. I was so used to saying I did everything right, give me this. But when you have a moment where you didn't do anything to earn it, I think we understand what love really is. And so if you meet someone and your values are there, you have the same faith, and you're growing together mentally, emotionally, you're like, man, everything's clicking. And you also say, I'm going to love you and I'm going to love your child.